Okay, I'm looking at my screen and I'm looking at the clock and it looks like all systems are go. Wave in the background, David, if you can hear me and see me. So I think we're in good shape here. So hello, folks. I'm Will and it's Wednesday, so you hear Wednesday at Will. And this week we're going to talk about transformation. But before we get into the topic today, for those of you who have never watched before, I do this weekly because I just love people. I love talking to people. And let me put in the banner here. I want you to tell me where you're tuning in from. Please, in the comments, folks, tell us where you're tuning in from and if you are team live or team replay, because you can always catch this later. Okay, back to purpose. I do this each week because I love connecting with people. I love talking to people. And here I am on episode 18 of season 1, being able to introduce you to folks who have inspired me. Today's guest is David Hanson, also known as David Handsome in some circles, but I'll let him explain that. Why do I do this? I have learned so much from people on this platform, other platforms, and just anyone I've ever been in contact with has taught me something about myself, and they kind of fill me up, and I live off of people's energies. So today, David is someone, and David, hello, I'm bringing you up in a second. I stalked him on Community of 7, and if you haven't followed Community of 7, you should. He and I attended many of the live events, and he's just such a warm, generous, kind person. I'm bringing him up now. So big round of applause for David, and I'm going to go swimming in the comments to see who's tuned in to say hey. So David Hanson, welcome.
Hello, Will. Thanks for having me on your show.
So glad you are here. So glad. So tell everybody who's watching who may not know you. I'm sure a few of our friends will tune in. So who are you? What do you do? And how are you going to teach us give us some tips on how to transform ourselves?
Yeah. Well, just a little bit about myself. It's been quite a transformational journey for myself lately. And I credit meditation for a huge part of my transformation. I've always been a spiritually minded person since my teen years, and I was even quite religious. I'm not a Mormon anymore, but I used to be a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Or
isn't there a Broadway show about you or something?
There is, yeah, the Book of Mormon. Yes. I'm not Mormon anymore, but I was very active in the church. My immediate family still is, and I actually served a mission in Canada, in Quebec, and parts of Ontario. And so I've always been spiritually minded, and now I identify more as spiritual, but not religious.
Right.
In fact, there's a quote from the Dalai Lama that I love so much. He says, "My religion is very simple. My religion is kindness." And I just love that. That really resonates with me. And just imagine if we lived in a world where that was our worldwide religion, to practice kindness.
Right. Exactly.
That's all we need. That's all we need, because kindness is love in action. And
David, I don't mean to interrupt you, but
yeah,
talking about that, right? I love to do what I do, and many people like you have referenced my kindness because I really believe in what I do. You're a different kind of kind, right? Kind is kind, but I love to inject humor, and I'm kind of more freeform about it. But what I've always admired about you, and in the time that we know each other, is your calm kindness. I'm not calm kindness, right? I believe in decency and empathy and compassion, but you have that inner quality of just you're Mr. Mellow. how, how do you do that? And your previous life, before you do what you're doing, you and I have something in common, which is retail. So how do you have that calm kindness vibe and still have done all that you've done?
Well, thanks for saying that. Yeah, I've been a calm person for most of my life. Even, meditation has enhanced that, and meditation has made me a more calm person. But I was calm even before I was consistently meditating. I used to work at FIDM, the Fashion Institute of Design and Merchandising, and
I didn't
my
know that.
boss used to tease me. He said that if there was a fire, he'd be like, "Oh my God, we got to get out of here! There's a fire!" And he used to tease me, and he said, and David would be more like, "Ladies and gentlemen, there appears to be a problem here, and we need to exit the building." And he used to tease me about how calm I am. And so, thanks for saying that. But yes, I would love a world where kindness is the worldwide religion. It's a religion that atheists could practice. It's a religion for everybody.
So this is what I wanted to ask you. We became friends. I'm in New York, you're in California, right? We're opposite sides of the country here. We were brought together in a virtual world through our connection to content on the platform, which brought us together. And I just love the fact that some of the deepest conversations and some of the most helpful calls that I've been on have been with you and Michelle Cordy, who was also a guest on the show.
So great to see her.
Yeah, and yeah, she's the cheerleader in the chat here. And I see we've got Phil and we've got Kim and we've got Helen, we've got Florence. I saw Germany showed up. Yeah, there's lots of people. Go through the comments later. You'll just have so much fun.
This is so awesome. Thank you for being here, all of you.
Oh, this is such a great team. And anybody who's watching, just make sure you contact and connect with David at some point. So we were drawn together, we were pulled together, and as I was saying, we have some of the deepest conversations, and I think we all help one another, and we love this platform, and we love to be able to get out there and share our thoughts and really support one another. So we've been talking about this for the longest time, how we're trying to grow our presence, we're trying to grow our business, being coaches and consultants and working. It's a whole new thing for me. And I was probably at first thinking the idea of like a consultant, that's not what I really wanted to do. But this community has shown me that there's room for everyone. And you've heard me talk about that. And I just think that, how am I putting this? What I want to draw out from you, for those friends that are watching you, but people who haven't watched you before, how is it that what are the practical steps that you can take other than becoming friends and we just chat a couple of times a month? What are the steps and how can people contact you? And what is it that the first thing you would do, meeting, say?
Well, thanks. Yeah, meeting you has been such a blessing, and getting active on LinkedIn has been such a blessing. And I'm meeting people in my soul tribe all around the globe. And to answer your question, I think I can be of the greatest help to people with their transformational journey and living a happier, more fulfilling life. And so much of it has to do with transforming from within. That's the real transformation. We can change our physical appearance, and we can change our clothing and other external factors, and they can add to our confidence and they can make us feel better about ourselves. But real transformation is from the inside out. And all of my life experiences have prepared me for this moment where I can help people in their own transformational journey. And especially when it comes to their spiritual awakening. spiritual awakening is such a beautiful experience. It's so worth it, but it is not easy, not by any stretch of the imagination. It can feel really lonely in one sense, because a lot of people just don't get you. They don't understand what you're experiencing. And so it can be lonely in that sense. In other senses, you can be alone and yet not feel lonely. And that's very much my experience. I love alone time. I'm an only child. I'm an introvert. I love alone time. And I rarely feel lonely when I'm alone. I actually really enjoy it. In fact, all of you in the chat, you can chime in.
They're going wild. They're going wild for you.
They are.
Yeah.
Yep. All of you in the chat, you could probably have the experience that sometimes you feel more lonely in the company of others than when you're by yourself. Okay? Do you know what I mean?
Totally true.
Yeah.
Totally
So
true.
chime in, everybody. But so I went off on a tangent there. But
no, but David, this brings me to what we've talked about a lot. So you're creating your own business, which I think is great. We both of us are startups in what we've been trying to do. The retail bit, that was our former life, the public customer service bit. You talk about being an introvert, and I've talked about this a ton. You describe yourself as an introvert, but anytime I've watched you on calls or even when you participate in different groups, you're quite confident, and you come across as that calm person. Do you believe that maybe we're all ambiverts in some sort of way, like the stage presence versus the you on your sofa presence? Like,
absolutely.
how as an introvert, I was once thought I was an introvert, and maybe was for a short period of time, but I got out of it because of work. My work required me not to be closed in. Had to have been the same for you, which has changed how you are helping others, right?
Yes. Yeah, I think I am actually an ambivert. My core is introvert. It's kind of hard for me to imagine you being an introvert because you don't come across that way. You come across.
Wait till the camera's off. I'll just pass out on the sofa behind.
Yeah. You come across as very extroverted, but yeah, I am introvert by nature, but I can be outgoing, especially when it's my job. Like, for example, we have a background in retail, you for the Met, and for myself, I was in home furnishing sales and interior design consulting. And so when it's my job, I can turn it on. I can be extroverted and outgoing and approach people. But after being with people for a period of time, I love people. I really enjoy people. But after that, I need to have time alone. That's how I recharge my batteries, is by having time alone. And it kind of recharges my batteries, and then I can go back out and interact with people and really enjoy it. And my favorite way of interacting with people is one-on-one, as opposed to a group setting, because I think I like those deep, soulful connections with people.
Right.
And you can only have that kind of connection one-on-one, I think, because in a group setting, you just can't go as deep usually when you're in a group setting. And I don't really love small talk a whole lot. I like to get into deeper subjects and a deeper connection. Those are some of the most fulfilling times of my life, is when I've had like this deep, soulful connection with somebody.
And I can see that, right? The way you engage in your posts. Your posts are quite, how would I put it? Your posts are extremely thoughtful, and the comments back and forth are rich. And it comes across in your virtual presence. It's not just the quick reactions or just a line. And I love emojis, so if I could, I'd speak in emojis all the time. Right? You throw in an emoji, but you prefer the conversation and it comes through. And I think that's beautiful. And I think that's why you're so good at what you do. And um, now I wanted to ask you, switching gears a little bit, I want to ask you, because we've only known each other a year plus, I don't even know, I've lost track of time. The pandemic changed everything for the world, right? You and I, had there not been a pandemic, may have never, oh, well, for sure, we would have never met and our lives would have been completely different, quite possibly being where we were. Talk a little bit about what that's been like for you, because there's plenty of people out there who want to start their own business. They want to start their own coaching business and maybe that introvert, but you're living proof of someone that can engage in content in the virtual world, but also start to build a business in such a way, in a meaningful way. What was that like for you, transitioning from old world to new world? What tips would you give people?
Yes. Well, one tip, I guess, is a lot of times we will go through an experience that initially seems like a great misfortune or a tragedy or an extreme hardship in life. And it's really scary going through that. And in my case, I lost my job. I was laid off from my job due to the pandemic. I was with my company a very long time, almost 18 years. And I lost my job because of the pandemic. And it was at the height of the pandemic.
Right.
And I was suddenly plunged into the great unknown where everything was so uncertain because it was at the height of the pandemic. And there was all this uncertainty about, people were losing their jobs by the millions, and we might go into a Great Depression, and there's all this death around us. And so I was just plunged into the great unknown. And fortunately, I was far enough along in my spiritual journey that I sensed that this could be a blessing in disguise. And in so many ways, it already has been, including meeting you. I got active on LinkedIn because I lost my job and I had to look for a job. I didn't want to be on LinkedIn. I haven't been interested on any social media, and
Right.
LinkedIn probably would have been my last choice.
Yeah, the old school thinking was LinkedIn is where you go to look for jobs, right? Like Indeed.com. It's changed, but you're absolutely right. That's why you would have gotten involved for sure.
Yes, and that's why I did it. I did it very reluctantly. I had a LinkedIn account, but I never used it. I didn't even remember my password. And but I got kind of begrudgingly, I got into LinkedIn because that's how you look for work.
Right.
Well, and I even took a course on how to leverage your LinkedIn profile to, for job searching and everything. And one of the things that they said is to have at least 500 connections. And that was so daunting for me because
Right.
I was in interior design and I'd been with the company so long and I hadn't looked for a job or felt like I needed LinkedIn. And so my circle was my former coworkers,
Mm-hmm.
and that's kind of awkward to connect with them.
Exactly. Yeah, it was weird back then.
Well, it's awkward because I was laid off. I was laid off from my job, and it was just uncomfortable. Right. And I loved my work in interior design, but I really wanted this to be an opportunity to move into something more spiritually fulfilling for me and to help people in their transformational journey, to live a happier, more fulfilling life. And so I wanted to connect with people that were in life coaching and positive psychology and meditation and mindfulness. And through a whole series of events, we found each other through Community of Seven, and it's been such a blessing. I'm meeting people in my soul tribe all around the globe, and that's been such a blessing. And it goes back to what I was saying earlier about how spiritual awakening can feel lonely sometimes. And it's been such a blessing to meet all these kindred spirits because of the internet and because of LinkedIn. And it's just been Wonderful.
We've been quite lucky, I would say. There's like no stranger danger in the communities that we've been building, right? We've got different vibes. We're all from different parts of the country, but it's just so wonderful to be part of something where people really do want to lift each other up, and people really do want to help one another out. And that's why I love doing this broadcast so much, because I love to talk in any way. Chit chat, deep, it doesn't matter. I could talk all day long when I'm in the mood. But if through those conversations and through your presence, you can help someone else and lift them up, I think it's just fantastic. I'm seeing here a question from our good old buddy Michelle. The three of us should do like a threesome show one day. I think that would be really cool, the three of us there. So Michelle's writing, what advice would you give for those who are just awakening to their spiritual journey? That's a good question, because that could be scary. Like, what's going on?
Yes, it very often it is scary. Like I was already going through spiritual awakening, and spiritual awakening is an ongoing process. You know, unless you're Jesus or Buddha, I don't think you arrive. I think it's an ongoing process. But meditation accelerated that process, and actually even losing my job accelerated that process. And so very often when you're going through spiritual awakening, it is scary because it's lonely. People don't understand you. They don't vibe with you. And a lot of times people will fall away from your life because you don't vibe with each other anymore. And that's scary, to lose these relationships with people. And you might lose your job. You might be going through a divorce. Very often spiritual awakening is precipitated by a tower moment where everything comes crashing down. In my case, I lost my job, but it can be something else for somebody else.
I have a question for you, because as we go through this thing called life, and you make mistakes, you hurt people, you hurt yourself, and we're just humans, right? We're making all sorts of mistakes. I had come to realize that, and I think you're talking about this, I had come to realize you can't be truly alive and truly who you are until you fall on your face. So I'm a big believer in failure and falling and being at your wit's end. And maybe I'm being a little overly dramatic, but I think that's what you're saying. We cannot transform into who and what we need to be unless we do have. It can't be all sunshine and roses. I don't think you can be the full version of yourself if it's all good all the time. Or do you disagree?
A little bit of both. I think you can do it the easy way, or you can do it the hard way. Most people do it the hard way. I had a little bit of both. We can be proactive about our spiritual awakening. There can be people that they desire to be. They just feel like there's more to life. There's this Devo song, I think it's called "What We Do," and the lyrics are kind of funny. Eating and breeding and pumping gas, cheeseburger, do it again. And our lives are kind of like that. And we have this sense that there's more to life than eating and breeding and pumping gas. That there's more to life beyond that. And so we could be proactive about our spiritual awakening. And in my case, meditation really was hugely important in that. I can't emphasize that enough, how important meditation is. If you do no other practice, there's two huge practices that I would recommend. Number one is meditation. If you do no other thing, meditation is the best thing you can do.
What's a tip? Go through it, but you have to give me a tip because I'm undisciplined. I need tips.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to cut you off.
It's okay. And just secondly, gratitude. Gratitude,
amen,
is a key to happiness and abundance, and it centers you in the now, and it awakens you to all the blessings that you have in your life. But anyway, you asked for a tip. And so very often,
Someone like me, I'll use myself as an example. The meditation I believe in, I love those quiet moments. I can go into the park, I can go into the woods, but my mind goes all over the place. Tip for those who chase gnats, right?
yes.
What do you tell me?
Well, and that's probably the number one thing that people say, oh, I can't meditate because I can't make my mind blank. Well, no, that's a misconception.
Mhm.
We can't make our mind blank. Our mind wants to think like our heart wants to beat. It's what our mind does. Our mind thinks. It's its job.
Right.
And so we're going to think. So meditation is not about making your mind blank. What it is, it's about being an objective observer of your thoughts. And so it's noticing your thoughts. And so you don't have to worry about stopping your thoughts. Notice them and without judgment, and then just let them float away like a cloud. Now, there will be, with practice, with meditation practice, there will be these delicious moments that you step into the space between your thoughts. And those are such amazing moments. But they're usually very brief because our mind wants to think. So the first thing is, don't beat yourself up if you're thinking a lot. It's natural. I've been meditating for years now, and I think my mind thinks when I meditate, but I observe it. But there are things that you can do to calm your monkey mind. There are things that can settle your thoughts, and there's techniques. One of the ones that a lot of people recommend, and I do too, is noticing your breath. And again, noticing it without manipulating your breath.
I try that one, and it does work.
It does. Yeah, and that's even a good thing to do, like just as you're going through your day, when you're washing the dishes or when you're on a walk, is becoming aware of your breath, because you become really centered in the now when you observe your breath. When you just notice your breath. Is my breath deep or shallow? Or you just notice it. When I learned meditation, I learned to use a mantra, and it was a Sanskrit mantra, and I don't know Sanskrit, so they were words that it didn't have any meaning to me because it was another language. Like a mantra could be rasa hum,
but if it didn't have meaning, right?
Yeah, and it's a good thing for it to not have a meaning, because if you choose a word that has meaning, then your mind's going to go with that, because you have all kinds of baggage related to that word. So it's helpful to have a mantra that it doesn't have a meaning to you. And so that's a way that if you notice that you're thinking a lot, you can just go back to silently in your mind repeating the mantra. That's another very useful tool.
And on that, you just brought to mind one of my favorite books, The Untethered Soul. I just read that book at one point. I don't know if I forget the author's name. Someone could put it in the chat. The Untethered Soul really helped me at one point in my life when my mom had passed away. And it was about thoughts. Your thoughts aren't you. You're an observer. And it was super, super helpful. And you just reminded me of that book, because if you're eager and not patient like I can be, you're constantly moving. You do forget to breathe. You jumble. You have that soup in your head. I love the idea, and I practice it. You're right. It's that breathing, and it's that calming. Why are we so drawn to the seashore, right? A river, a beach. It's that very in and out, that flowing nature. I think that helps us so very, very much.
Yeah, absolutely. There's another way that I've kind of discovered it organically, that helps me to quiet my monkey mind is, have you ever heard the sound of a singing bowl before?
A singing bowl?
Singing bowl?
No, I don't think I know that. Michael Singer's the author of the book. Thank you, Lori. She put it in the chat.
Yeah, I'm anxious to look through the comments, but if you
Singing bowl. So
yeah, anyway, it's
that.
kind of a wong 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 wong.
Oh, yes.
So anyway, if you first you notice the ringing in your ears, and then if you just do a relaxed, deeper listening, you'll start to hear that wong 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 wong. And I try to focus on that sound in my mind. Its vibration, its energy, and that really helps me calm my monkey mind. And so these are all ways that can quiet your thoughts.
So do you believe that, that we talk about transformation, you talk about meditation, but do you believe, even if people are doing it for just a short period of time each day or morning or night, that it can help them transform? Like if you can get into that space? I don't call it meditation and I don't call it anything. I just know I need to wake up at like 5 a.m. I need to be up before anyone else since I was a child. And it's that time in the morning being quiet. And then things move along in the day, or you get on your iPad and then your mind is racing. But there's nothing like that early morning to, if I don't have that time in the early morning, my day is a hot mess. I guess that's my unofficial meditation, right? To do that. And so what I'm hearing you say, I should look at something that I just purposely maybe breathe a little bit more, have that mantra, like do something that is going to maybe stick around longer than 45 minutes. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think if you're just starting meditation, start small. Start with just a few minutes, 5 minutes, and just get in the practice of meditating. And I love what you're saying about starting your moment in silence. We're bombarded by incoming,
Yep.
And I am at my best when I meditate almost immediately after arising. That just sets the right tone for my day when I meditate first thing before checking my phone. And I confess that I do it too often, that I check messages.
Hey, it's 2022, David. I think we all do.
It is. Yes, I get lost in that. But it's so much better, and our brain waves are optimal if we do it almost immediately after arising, if we meditate. So yes, start small, and the key is to make it a consistent habit. I think that's the main thing. It's like anything else. Make it a consistent habit, and you'll start to enjoy it so much that you'll end up meditating longer and longer and longer because you'll enjoy it.
I can't understand people who, set the alarm clock and they race out. Like, to me, that would just be a form of torture. Like, I could never get myself moving that quickly. I need that time. And it seems like it's an unproductive time, but it isn't. Because past like 9:30 a.m., don't tell any of my clients, but like sort of like past 9:30 a.m., my mind starts to just disintegrate. Forget me at 3 p.m. So if I don't have that time, if people don't have that time, and there are other people who maybe are night people, right? They could be creative later in the day. So this isn't about preaching to people that they need to wake up at 5 a.m. and be alone. Maybe it's 5 p.m. at the beach, right? Something like that. There's a question here. Marlene's asking, hello, Marlene. She's like one of the sweetest people ever. She's asking, what about exercise? So it's meditation, it's our thoughts, being mindful. What are your thoughts on exercise to go along with all of this transformation?
Oh, yes. Exercise is very important. I am a big believer in living a life of balance. And And exercise is important for us on so many levels. The obvious one is that it's good for our bodies. But it gets energy flowing in it, so yes, I think it's important to find a form of exercise that you enjoy. And for me, I really enjoy going on walks, and going on walks kept me moderately sane during the pandemic, the worst of the pandemic, and we were in lockdown. But we were allowed to go, walking in open spaces where, we
Yeah.
weren't, where there was social distancing. And that is so therapeutic for me. I go for walks almost every day, and I really miss it if I miss a day. But it could be dancing, it could be anything, but find a form of exercise that you really enjoy. It's great for you to move your body, connect with your body. Obviously, it's healthy. It relieves stress. It actually gives you energy, which is strange because we expend energy in exercising, but it also gives us energy. I
And
see how Bruce says
it
yoga.
fixes that breathing too, right?
Yeah.
Through that. Now I'm being mindful of time. We've gone over. I hope you could stay some more minutes, and
Yes.
everybody else, I hope you can stay as well, because I want to sum up what we've talked about so far, and then I want to ask you. I want you to ask me questions. So, transformation. I'm hearing from you on all of our conversations. It's that meditation, being reflective, being mindful, right? It's being very, very mindful. And we are not necessarily our thoughts. I love that. Finding what works for you is another thing that I'm hearing, right? If I love waking up at 5 a.m., but others wake up at noon, that's great. If it works into your life, but find those moments and those times to really reflect, because it's in those moments, right? Which you just talked about, walking in nature and going for those walks, you can find it. So often you just think it's supposed to be some sort of video you watch to learn how to meditate. And you can learn the tips, you gave us some, but it's really trying to connect with that inner voice. And when we don't listen to that inner voice, that's when we start to get ourselves into trouble, right? If you make that time, many of the answers that you're looking for come to you in surprising ways, right? Really, really. I forgot we have an audience. I'm talking to you like we're just alone, and I know we have a call later with Michelle. Do you have any question for me? And then I'm going to go through the comments to see who else may have a question or comment. Any question you want to ask out here in public, forever recorded and living on LinkedIn? Go.
Yeah. Well, tell me how you went from being introverted to being the outgoing person that you are now.
Jason Hurley, I don't know if he's watching or watching in the replay. He's someone I follow, and I don't know if you do. Great guy. He does posts. They're usually just a sentence or a question for food for thought. So I don't know if you follow Jason. He asks the best questions. So today I saw something that he posted, looking in the mirror, what do you see? And my response, I think fits into this question, was when I look in the mirror, I see William. So William is what I was called as a child. So, and I transformed into Will later on in life. William is who I see. William now looks like his father, but I've reconnected in recent years with William, who the youngster pre-puberty was quite outgoing, quite this version that I am now. Something happened between puberty and the last couple of years that made me, I don't know, people please, or made me not the full Will or William. So I just think it was blessings. You talked about gratitude and talked about being seeing life through that lens of gratitude. I'm blessed, and I know that I've been blessed, and I've been through hardship like everyone else, but I took those blessings and I said to myself, you're one damn lucky guy. What are you going to do? And when I started to not care about other people in the sense of them judging me for what I am or how I do what I do, it was liberation. So it was very much, that was my process. It was nothing planned, but in those quiet moments in the morning, going through so much loss and family members and everything the world's gone through in the last couple of years, I just decided to shed all that other stuff. And I just decided that it was much more important to show up as me.
Mm-hmm.
And that just clicked. And David, that probably clicked like 2-3 years ago. Otherwise, I couldn't have done it. And doing that created this world. You talked about the 500 people on trying to get to 500 LinkedIn. I was the same way. I had a LinkedIn account for like 100 years, and I started to use it. And the followers and all of that keeps growing, which I find is another blessing. Because I'm out here, and I'm talking, and I'm posting, and I do what I love to do. There are people that like it. That's great. I appreciate it all. And there's others who just find me tiresome or they don't like it. And that's great too, right? That's what it's about. And that's how I transformed. Just starting to, what makes me tick? What do I love to do? And how do I use my presence to make the world around me a little bit better, a little bit funnier, because I do. And that's it. So I know we've gone way over. I think this is the longest I've ever had.
Yeah,
it's the longest episode ever.
Yeah, there's so much to say. It's hard to stop.
So any final words? There's tons of comments. We can't do them all here because we'll be here until dinner. Any final comments for those who've blessed us by tuning in either live or on the replay?
Well, first of all, I just want to say thank you to you, Will, and thank you to all of you who tuned in today. I see a lot of people from our Soul Tribe in the comments, and it just really warms my heart. Michelle Cordy this morning, she left me this lovely voice message, giving me encouragement. Thank you, Michelle. Love you. And I'm just very grateful to meet our Soul Tribe here. Your vibe attracts your tribe, and that's what's happening. That's how you and I found each other, and Michelle and everybody else out there, is that we're on a vibrational level, and it just happens very naturally, very organically. People that are not on your frequency, right, they're not going to be interested in you, and that's a great filtration system. And kudos to you for being your authentic self, because that's how you attract your tribe, is by being real. If you're being somebody else, you're not going to attract your tribe.
It doesn't.
The way to attract your tribe is to be yourself.
It's absolutely positively the truth. People see through the phoniness, and I really think that's why so much of this social media and these broadcasts resonate with many people, just because it's not packaged, right? Here we are, two friends just having a conversation, supporting one another. And I can't thank you enough. And I wish you nothing but success. Everybody who's tuned in and watched this, please, if you don't already, follow David, because he's the king of kindness, or he's the West Coast.
You are. You're
the West Coast king of kindness.
We'll have our realm, yes.
Yeah, I've got the 5 boroughs. I've got Brooklyn, Bronx, Manhattan, Queens, and Staten Island. Okay.
All right.
You can have California. You could share it with Grace Brady when she's back.
Yes, she's another Californian. Yeah. I met her thanks to you.
Wonderful, wonderful people. You're fantastic, David. Thank you for taking the time. And everybody who's still with us, I appreciate you staying here. I have to figure out a way to get David, and I would love, and Michelle seems to be open to it, the 3 of us to do, maybe we could do like a pre-Christmas special, just the Soul Tribe.
3 Musketeers for Christmas. I love it. Yeah, I love our 3 Musketeers thing going on, and that would be really fun to do a show together.
Yeah, it's just so awesome. So David, thank you. Everybody who's tuned in,
Thanks
thank
so
you. And
Thank
remember,
you everyone for being here.
keep it kind out there. The world has enough problems. We don't need to add to it. We can just add a little sunshine and kindness ourselves. Just be you and be kind.
Yes.
Take care, everybody.
Bye.
See
Thank
you
you.
soon. Bye-bye.